finally, Jack Nicholson. He turned 89 this week. Nicholson, a three-time Oscar winner, doesn't make many public appearances these days.
And man, he might be the best of all time.
Yeah.
One of the biggest movie stars in history just stopped showing up. No goodbye speech. No farewell tour. No final bow. One day, the man who played the Joker and won 3 Oscars was everywhere. The next, he was almost a ghost. Fans searched for him at award shows. Reporters waited outside his gate. Friends stayed quiet. For years, nobody had a clear answer. Now, pieces of the real story are finally coming together. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what happens next in this story. Jack Nicholson was born in April 1937 in New Jersey. His childhood looked normal on the outside, but it was not normal at all. The woman he thought was his sister was actually his mother. The woman he thought was his mother was actually his grandmother. Jack did not learn this truth until he was an adult. A magazine reporter told him the real story years later. This kind of secret can shape a person forever. Jack grew up without knowing who he truly was. He never met his father. His family didn't talk about hard things. They just moved forward and stayed quiet. Young Jack was full of energy. He loved making people laugh. He loved attention. Some who knew him said he used humor to cover pain. That pattern would follow him his whole life. At 17, Jack left New Jersey for California. He wanted to work in cartoons at first. He got a small job in the mailroom at a cartoon studio, but acting called to him instead. He started taking small roles in low-budget films. Nobody knew his name yet. Nobody expected much from him. But underneath, something was building. Jack had a hunger to be seen. He wanted to prove himself. He wanted the world to know who he was. Maybe because for years, he didn't fully know it himself. This early wound, hidden deep inside a happy-looking childhood, planted a seed. And decades later, that same seed would help explain why he eventually chose to disappear. For over a decade, Jack Nicholson worked in the shadows of Hollywood. He took part in cheap horror films and forgettable dramas. Most people walked past him without a second look. He almost gave up acting completely. He even thought about becoming a writer or producer instead. Money was tight. Roles were small. Rejection came again and again. Many actors quit during years like these. But Jack kept pushing. He believed in himself even when nobody else did. Then, in 1969, everything changed. He got a supporting role in a low-budget film called Easy Rider. Nobody expected it to matter much, but it became a huge hit. Jack's performance stood out. Audiences noticed his wild energy and unique voice. Almost overnight, he went from unknown actor to rising star. That role earned him his first Academy Award nomination. After years of struggle, Jack Nicholson had finally arrived. But fame did not erase his old wounds. It only gave him a bigger stage to hide them on. As the offers poured in, Jack threw himself into work. He said yes to nearly everything. Some say this drive came from pure passion for acting. Others say it came from something deeper, a need to prove he mattered. Whatever the reason, the 1970s were about to become the most important decade of his career. And also, some say, the start of the pressure that would follow him for the rest of his life. If you're enjoying the story so far, drop a comment below and tell us what you already knew about Jack Nicholson. It helps us more than you think. Through the 1970s, Jack Nicholson became one of the biggest names in movies. He starred in 5 Easy Pieces, Chinatown, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That last film won him his first Oscar. Critics called him one of the greatest actors of his generation. Jack wasn't just talented. He was magnetic. He had a wild grin and sharp eyes that made every scene feel alive. Off camera, he became just as famous for his lifestyle. He dated famous women. He partied hard. He lived exactly how he wanted, with no apologies. In the 1980s and 1990s, his fame only grew. He played the Joker in Batman in 1989 and earned a massive paycheck for it. He won 2 more Oscars for Terms of Endearment, and as good as it gets. By the end of his career, he had 12 Oscar nominations, more than almost any actor in history. He became known for something else too, his front row seat at Los Angeles Lakers basketball games. For decades, Fans expected to see him there, sunglasses on, grinning at the camera. It became part of his identity, almost as famous as his movie roles. But behind the fame, friends say Jack was tired in ways the public never saw. Decades of nonstop work, late nights, and constant public attention take a toll on anyone. Jack gave everything to his career. He rarely said no to a role he wanted. He rarely slowed down. By the 2000s, some who worked with him noticed changes. He seemed less driven. He turned down more roles than he accepted. The fire that once pushed him to work nonstop seemed to be fading, just a little, year after year. Nobody knew it yet, but Jack Nicholson was slowly preparing to step away from the world that made him famous. In December 2010, Jack Nicholson released a film called How Do You Know? He played a supporting role, the father of a character played by Paul Rudd. The film did not do well at the box office. It cost far more to make than it earned back. At the time, nobody knew this would be his last movie. There was no big announcement, no final interview about retirement, no farewell party. Jack simply stopped taking roles after that. For a while, people assumed he was just being picky, like many older actors. But months turned into years, and Jack never returned to screen. Rumors began spreading that he had stopped acting because of failing health or mental decline, though Nicholson and people close to him firmly denied these claims. Reports later suggested Jack had simply lost his drive to keep working in Hollywood, and that age made it harder for him to memorize long scripts. He had spent almost 60 years acting nonstop. Perhaps he was simply, finally, done. He came close to returning a few times. He almost took a role in the 2014 film The Judge, and he considered acting again in 2017, but changed his mind both times. Friends say Jack wanted something different in his later years. Not more fame, not more roles, just peace. After a lifetime spent performing for the world, he wanted time that belonged only to him. This quiet exit confused millions of fans. One of the greatest actors alive had simply gone silent. And that silence is exactly what sparked years of speculation about what was really happening behind his gates. Speaking of speculation, if the story is pulling you in, smash that like button right now. It really helps this video reach more people who loved his movies too. Once Jack disappeared from movie screens, the public wanted answers. Rumors spread fast. Some tabloids claimed he was suffering from serious memory problems. Some even claimed he had dementia. These stories spread across the internet for years. One widely shared report from between 2017 and 2019 claimed the actor could no longer remember his lines. But people close to Jack pushed back hard. Longtime family friend Maria Shriver, a television journalist, publicly called those claims completely false. His close friend, music producer Lou Adler, later gave a simpler explanation in a 2023 interview. He said Jack simply wanted to be quiet and live life on his own terms. This is important to understand. Not every disappearance means tragedy. Sometimes it means a person, especially one who spent 60 years in the spotlight, finally chooses themselves over the world's expectations. Still, the rumors never fully stopped. More recent reports suggest his low profile may also be tied to health concerns and a simple desire for more privacy as he moved into his late 80s. Some sources claimed he had been seen looking a little wobbly during rare outings. The truth likely sits somewhere in the middle. Age changes everyone. Even legends slow down. But that doesn't mean tragedy. It may simply mean a man choosing comfort over cameras, privacy over headlines. Despite stepping back, Jack Nicholson has not vanished completely. He was seen briefly at a Los Angeles Lakers playoff game in 2023, a rare public appearance that surprised fans everywhere. In February, he attended Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary celebration, one of his most notable outings in years. Outside of these rare moments, Nicholson still occasionally steps out in Los Angeles, sometimes attending basketball games or special events alongside his children, Lorraine and Ray. Family clearly still matters deeply to him. His relationship with his former partner, actress Angelica Houston, has also remained warm. She revealed that during devastating wildfires in Los Angeles, Jack personally called her and offered his home if she needed a safe place to stay. That single act says a lot about the man behind the headlines. Quiet, caring, loyal, even while avoiding the spotlight. Some who know him say his inner circle simply prefers that the public remember him as he was during his peak, rather than watch him age in front of cameras. This is not the story of a man who disappeared in sadness. It may instead be the story of a man protecting his own image, his own dignity, and his own peace on his own terms. Before we get to the final part of this story, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It really helps us keep telling stories like this one. Jack Nicholson spent almost 60 years performing for audiences. He gave the world unforgettable characters, wild grins, and legendary scenes that will never be forgotten. Then one day, he simply stopped. His story is not really about disappearing. It's about a man who spent decades saying yes to Hollywood and finally learned how to say no. At an age most people call it a full and complete career, he chose complete freedom over the demands of fame. Some compare his quiet retreat to that of actor Gene Hackman, another legend who stepped away from Hollywood without much explanation. Perhaps this is simply what many great performers eventually want. Not more applause, just quiet. There's something deeply human about this story. A boy who grew up hiding a family secret became a man who gave everything to be seen by the world. And in the end, that same man chose to step back into privacy, on his own terms, surrounded by the people he trusts most. We may never know the full truth behind every rumor, but one thing is certain. Jack Nicholson lived an extraordinary life, on camera and off, and his choice to step away says just as much about him as any award ever could. Jack Nicholson gave Hollywood some of its most unforgettable moments. But maybe his final lesson wasn't on screen at all. Maybe it was this: knowing exactly when to walk away and having the courage to actually do it. That is the real story behind why Jack Nicholson vanished from Hollywood. Now we know why.